Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Wednesday, July 6th, 2022. Welcome to day 533. Former Trump White House counsel Pat Cipollone has agreed to testify after receiving a subpoena from the January 6th committee. Cipollone will sit for a videotaped, transcribed interview behind closed doors on Friday. He is not expected to testify publicly. Former Trump White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson testified last month that Cipollone repeatedly tried to prevent Trump from encouraging his supporters to march to the Capitol on January 6th. Hutchinson also testified that Cipollone had warned in the days leading up to the attack that Trump and his aides could be charged with every crime imaginable if Trump joined protesters at the Capitol. The committee scheduled its seventh hearing for July 12th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. House Republicans, meanwhile, threatened to subpoena unspecified records of the January 6th committee in retaliation if the GOP retakes the majority next year. Meanwhile, Lindsey Graham will challenge the subpoena he received from a special grand jury in Georgia investigating Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election in that state. In a statement, Graham's attorney said the subpoena for his testimony is all politics, and that Graham plans to go to court, challenge the subpoena, and expects to prevail. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's special grand jury wants to hear from Graham because he allegedly made two calls to Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and his staff following the election about, quote, re-examining certain absentee ballots cast in Georgia in order to explore the possibility of a more favorable outcome for former President Donald Trump, end quote. Moving on, Biden planned to nominate an anti-abortion Republican to a lifetime appointment as a federal judge in Kentucky the day before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, ending the federal constitutional right to abortion. In an email dated June 23rd, the White House informed Kentucky Democratic Governor Andy Beshear's office that Chad Meredith was to be nominated tomorrow to the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Kentucky. The next day, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, effectively banning abortion in Kentucky because of its trigger law. While Meredith's nomination was never announced or submitted by the White House, there has been no indication that it had been rescinded either. The nomination was reportedly part of a deal with Mitch McConnell to stop holding up Biden's other judicial nominations. Out west, the 7 states that make up the Colorado River Basin have less than 60 days to come up with a plan to significantly reduce their collective water consumption in the next 18 months, or risk a potential collapse of the Colorado River system. Climate change and a 2-decade-long drought have diminished river flows and reservoir water levels by about 20%. Scientists estimate that 1/3 of that loss can be attributed to warmer temperatures. As a result, the Bureau of Reclamation ordered Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, Wyoming, Nevada, California, and Arizona to cut their water usage by 2 to 4 million acre-feet in 2023, which would amount to more than Arizona's entire annual usage. Under the terms of the 1922 Colorado River Compact, the upper basin is made up of Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming, while the lower basin consists of Arizona, California, and Nevada and Mexico. Each basin has rights to 7.5 million acre-feet of water, with an additional 1.5 million acre-feet of water for Mexico. While the upper basin has never come close to using its full share of the water over the past century, using roughly 3.5 million acre-feet a year, the lower basin, by some estimates, uses more than 8.5 million acre-feet each year. Associated laws and agreements predetermine what happens at various stages of water shortages, and under a 2007 agreement, any shortages in supply would be borne by Arizona and Nevada first. The Bureau of Reclamation gave the states until August 16th to figure out a path to conservation before the Bureau would take unilateral action to protect the system. Moving on, the Biden administration announced plans to fix the broken federal student loan system. The proposal would update protections for students who were defrauded by for-profit schools, overhaul the public service loan forgiveness program, and change how interest accrues on some loans. The public has 30 days to comment on the Education Department's proposals, and the final rules will go into effect no later than July 1st, 2023. As many as 40 million Americans could be impacted by the changes. And finally, COVID-19 was the third leading cause of death in the United States in 2020 and 2021, trailing just heart disease and cancer. Between March 2020 and October 2021, COVID-19 accounted for 1 in every 8 deaths and ranked in the top 5 causes of death for every age group of people older than 15 years old. And in the polls, the New York Times says 54% of Americans feel their lives are somewhat the same as it was before the pandemic, while 34% think their lives are not the same. The University of Texas and the Texas Politics Project polls say 54% of Texas voters oppose the state's trigger law that automatically bans abortions, while 37% say they support the trigger law. 15% of Texas voters said abortion should never be permitted. And the Pew Research Center says 57% of Americans disapprove of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, while 41% approve. 52% of adults in states that have new restrictions on abortion or where prohibitions are soon set to take effect disapprove of the court's decision, while 47% say they approve. 62% of Americans say abortion should be legal in all or most states. That number is largely unchanged since before the court announced its decision. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefuckjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditas.